Just a heads up, Alex. Young's gonna sit down and cackle like a maniac. There you go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Equity or Bust, where real estate and construction meet and wealth is built. Today, we have a special guest today, Alex. Alex is the founder and CEO of Hotel Shift, a national adaptive reuse platform converting underutilized hotels into workforce housing and affordable housing. He's also an economist and a former tenured professor. Alex brings together housing economics, real estate, investments, hospitality operations, and entrepreneurship to create market-based housing solutions that serve residents, investors, municipalities, lenders, and hotel owners. My name is Young, and partner here is Leo. We own multiple real estate companies here in the greater Boston area, and we're very happy to have Alex because he has something very unique maybe you haven't heard of. So, Alex?
Hey guys, great to be here with you.
Awesome. So, I guess how would you describe what you do then with the hotel conversions?
Yeah, so we buy distressed hotels, and that could be an old hotel. It's typically an old hotel. Sometimes it's a new hotel in a crowded market, but we're looking for hotels that are good candidates for conversion to multifamily. And I'll talk to you about why that's a profitable niche. But basically, there's an arbitrage in the valuation, and I can explain why that exists, where hotels typically sell at a much higher cap rate than multifamily. So when you buy a hotel and convert it to multifamily, you're buying in at a low basis, you're converting to something with a lower cap rate, in other words, a higher valuation. So it's a way to change the zoning on a property, do some construction, and really crank the value up. It's fundamentally a value add strategy. It's a very niche value add strategy. And when you buy a hotel, sometimes the rooms are a lot smaller than you would have in a typical apartment complex, or what we might call a purpose-built apartment complex. And typically, we're not combining a whole bunch of rooms to make two-bedroom units in the hotel conversion, for example. So you end up with some smaller units, but you can also afford to rent out those units at a lower rate than your competitors. So it's a way to create, we might call it lowercase a affordable housing or attainable housing, naturally occurring affordable housing, market rate affordable housing, which is exactly what every major city needs. And it's exactly what new construction has a hard time supplying right now. So our company is specialized in one very particular thing, looking for distressed hotels, converting them to some type of housing product.
I see that this niche is such a great niche because, I don't know exactly the areas you operate, but we're in Boston and housing here is extremely expensive. And the thing is like cost prohibitive too as well to build. So it doesn't make sense for people to build workforce housing in the greater Boston area because you wouldn't make any money. You would lose money, so that's why cost is so prohibitive. So I feel like this is a niche that correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it's a great niche in high rent markets probably, right? Then?
That's exactly right. Yeah,
Okay.
That's exactly right. The strategy is best in high rent or really like unaffordable markets, right? Because you could have high rents, but you could also have high incomes. So fundamentally, the units are smaller. So if someone's going to live in a unit that's a little bit smaller, it's got to be cheaper. And ideally, it's in an area where people are a little more accustomed to smaller units or a little more forgiving of smaller units. And so the more unaffordable the market, that is, the higher the rent relative to incomes, higher the rent relative to homeownership costs, then this is a more appealing product. Like fundamentally, a hotel conversion to multifamily is a solution to the need for more affordable housing. You're right. So the least affordable or the less affordable a market is, the better our niche is, the more profitable the niche is.
So we are the third most expensive market in the U.S. So where do I find these hotels? What do I need to do to go out and find these hotels? Then?
They're everywhere.
Okay.
They're everywhere. So, there's, of course, for those that aren't typically looking for hotels are for sale with hotel brokers, just like apartment buildings are, and you can find them publicly listed. There are big hotel brokerages that list these. And you could also look for hotels off market, just like you would look for regular apartment complex. There are those that are run by a mom and pop that may be tired and have not really kept up with the property over the years. The hotel is less competitive than it once was, just like you see with multifamily. And you can approach those folks about getting an off market deal. I would say that there are a couple different categories of hotels that I could tell you about. Um, but in short, there are all kinds of sellers of distressed hotels. There are people that have great big hotels that have a lot of convention space. We might call them full service hotels. They've got a restaurant, they've got underground parking, they've got great big rooms, right? The banquet facility, and the building's just old. And at some point, it's not worth remodeling anymore. And so it doesn't have a Marriott or a Hilton. They call it a flag, but the brand name on there anymore, or those brand names have revoked the license. And then on the other side, you've got smaller properties that are maybe sub 50 rooms that do not have a national brand on them. They're just kind of like Bob's Pretty Good Roadside Hotel, and those properties don't have a strong buyer pool, right? Like because you can't put a national flag, a brand name on a property that small. Typically, the architecture is old, and so it's owned by an owner operator. And if they can't find another owner operator to sell it to, they're stuck, and they'll sell it to you pretty cheaply, or even if they can't find another owner operator to sell it to, the neighborhood may have just changed. They may have built a new Hampton Inn or Marriott Courtyard down the street. And so now Bob's Pretty Good Hotel is
Not
not
so
making
good.
as much money as it was 30 years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Bob's Hotel's like $50 a
probably not so
night
good
instead of
anymore.
like $300 a night now.
You had mentioned convention space and restaurants. When you guys do the conversions, do you guys end up converting those spaces into actual apartments as well, or do you utilize them for something else?
Yeah, great question. So when we look at a full service hotel that's got a lot of extra space in it, that extra space is a net negative unless I can convert it into more units. Adding more units is a phenomenal way to increase the returns on hotel conversion because you get so much more NOI by adding units. And in theory, you can add a lot of units in a great big ballroom space. But that ballroom space, you've just got to make sure that the building's got the electrical and the plumbing capacity to accommodate that you've got enough parking on site. So it's really a deep analysis with some architects and engineers to see if it's worth it. Now, we're doing a full service hotel right now, right outside of downtown Denver, where it's got 4 banquet rooms, but they're all underground. They're subterranean. So you can't convert them into units. So we're converting those into a combination of resident storage. We're doing some co-working spaces. After all, when you got smaller units, you want to have nice amenities outside the room. We're doing a golf simulator. We have a dog wash station. And we figured we've got all this space. Why not just have 2 fitness centers? So this one is going to have a lot of fitness center space. And then in that particular hotel, it's got 3 underground racquetball courts. We
Oh,
figured,
wow.
let's just kind of refinish these and we'll have them as 3 underground pickleball courts. But the parking garage stays and the pool stays. Instead of being hotel amenities, those are just now amenities for the apartment residents.
Got it. When you do these, what do you see as like with the infrastructure, what's the biggest challenge for the conversion when you're looking at the infrastructure, like the plumbing, the electrical, et cetera?
Yeah, great question. So on the infrastructure specifically, the big challenge is 2 things. The biggest is the parking. A lot of cities have got a parking ratio where you might need 1.3 parking spaces per unit or 1.5 or 1.2, etc. So if you're in an urban core, if you will, a very dense area, there just may not be space to add more parking spaces. And that causes you to have to delete units so that you can
Continue.
comply with the number of parking spaces that are on a given site. And that really drags down the economics. And if you can't negotiate with a city, that's a problem. Now, one of the good things about these full service hotels that have the banquet spaces and the restaurant, they typically have a lot of excess parking because it was designed for people to come to the hotel that weren't necessarily staying at the hotel, right?
Yeah.
Hotels, by the way, they don't have as much parking as a traditional multifamily because a hotel is not designed to run at 100% occupancy. An apartment complex is designed to run at 90 plus percent occupancy, but a hotel may not be full every night, and that's fine. Also, people come to a hotel without a car. They take the shuttle from the airport, they take an Uber, family comes in a van, right?
Yep.
So you don't necessarily need a parking space for every single hotel room. So parking is a big constraint. Beyond the parking, the second biggest constraint is electricity. So we're adding several circuits when we add a kitchen to every room, right? Every major appliance needs a circuit. And if we're doing dishwashers or in-unit washer dryer, those are, of course, all more circuits that need to get added.
And more
at some
amperage.
point, you might have to add a transformer to the building. And all that electricity, you got skilled labor, copper's expensive, transformer's expensive, so that can drive the cost straight up pretty quickly. That's also a big constraint.
Do you separately meter all the units when you convert?
We never have. We don't think that there's value in doing that. It's
Okay.
pretty expensive.
That's what I was
We
wondering.
think that part of the product is to offer an all-inclusive apartment, right, where people can come, pay one price. Our apartments are more of what you might call like the B minus C plus type spectrum of multifamily. So not capital A affordable, but certainly attainable. And they're folks that work by the hour, right? So as their hours at work are moving around, they don't have to worry about the utilities moving around. They pay one price to us. Now, of course, they get billed if usage is excessive, and we have ways to monitor for that. But we think that it's a net positive to us to offer an all-inclusive experience to the residents.
Does the all-inclusive include like Wi-Fi and things like that, or is it just
It
the?
does. No, it does. We run a very nice Wi-Fi system. Actually, in most of our properties, we spec out the same system that's in a lot of Hilton hotels, and there's it's completely set up so that everybody's got enough capacity in their rooms. You sign a lease with us, you go to your unit. You don't have to call and put down a deposit with the gas, the water, the electric, the Wi-Fi, right? You flip on your light switch, you put in a password for your Wi-Fi, everything is set. It's very turnkey. It's super easy. And then you just make one payment to us.
I want that. I want to live there. That's going to be easier.
So, I mean, like how small would be too small? I mean, what type of
Like, would you guys do motels?
then?
Yeah, so great question. So how small is too small? Like fundamentally, it depends on the market, right? If you're in a market like an LA, a New York City, I don't know Boston as well, but I'm imagining there are places that are very expensive, but they're very central, and so people are willing to put up with low amounts of square footage. Your standard hotel room's 12 by 24, which is 288 square feet. And we have a couple designs that can make that into a comfortable studio apartment. There are some hotels that are 265 square feet rooms and below. We think that that's too small for a studio. Now, in the right market, that could work. It's like at the end of the day, it's not me that dictates whether or not something's too small. It's the consumer, right? It's like, what are they willing to pay for a given size apartment? But in our estimation, 265 is not really desirable. So when we get hotels that are of those smaller unit size, then the conversation is about how many units get combined and how many one bedrooms and studios do we ultimately end up with.
And so, in talking about too small, in the leases, I'm sure you guys have a maximum occupancy allowance that they are allowed to have inside each unit.
Yeah, of course. Studio units are not for families right now. Of course, we're complying with local law in terms of the amount of people that can live on a per square foot basis. Varies a little bit across the country, but you cannot cram a whole family in a studio. Of course, it's just not. It's not safe. It's not healthy. It's not considerate to the other residents, and so we don't allow that kind of thing.
I mean, are there any types of hotels that you avoid then?
When you say type, what do you mean by type? Like brand?
I mean, it could be brand, but it could also be like anything like specific to like the layout or anything, any sort of physical elements that you as soon as you see it, you're like, this is not going to work then, other than like small room sizes then.
Yeah. So I would say just for us, just given what the scale at which we're trying to do things, we don't really look at hotels that are under 80 units. And now if somebody now we're buying stuff all over the country. So if there was a smaller hotel close by where I lived, then maybe we would look at something that was sub 80 units, like a 30, 40, 50 unit hotel. We also don't really look at hotels that were built before 1960 just because they tend to have 250 square foot units. They tend to be really small. And those are like 30, 40 unit motels. You have to combine a lot of units to get to a unit size that makes sense. And so you don't end up with very many units at the end of the day. That is not to say that an individual investor can't go find one of those at a great price, do a conversion, right? Like manage it themselves and make a lot of money. It's just not something that we can really scale. So like the 1960 and older hotels and the sub 50 units, we just don't look at.
So, could you walk us through the economics of, like, say, an 80 unit hotel or a 100 unit hotel? Like, like, what do you think the cost would be to purchase something? What do you think, like, a general idea what the construction budget would be? And, like, in the end, I assume because it's hard to finance something that hasn't been made yet sometimes, so you probably work with local banks. But I mean, once it's stabilized, what would be the DSCR on it? I mean, like, could you walk us through, like, what the numbers would look like roughly?
Yeah, glad to. So
Okay.
I'll walk you through a deal that we just closed about a month and a half ago, just because the numbers on that are freshest in my mind. But we bought a 310 unit hotel in downtown Denver. I give you the reason. I give you the background on why it was distressed. But basically, this hotel was across from an airport. About 20 years ago, that airport relocated, and now the Denver airport's farther outside the city. So now the main
Mm,
demand driver for that hotel is gone. 310 units is a very large hotel. You've got to be like right downtown or next to an airport to make that kind of business work. This hotel was too big for its suburban location, but in a great neighborhood, high rents, the right zoning. We purchased that property for about $29,000 a unit. Now that property that
wow.
is very vertical, right? So the construction, of course, is more costly on a more vertical building, and Colorado's got some unique energy codes that we have to comply with. So I can't really give typical construction numbers, but I can give you a very big range. Tell you about in this building, our construction's in the mid 40,000s per unit. We're going to take 310 unit hotel to 240 units. We'll end up with 91 bedrooms, the remainder studios. And this building is going to be more of a B plus type finish that appeals to a lot of young professionals. It's highly amenitized. I mentioned the sports courts that it's got in the lower level. And so that hotel we bought for around an 11% yield on cost. So you can think of that as a little over 11 going in cap rate,
Okay.
and we'll stabilize. We'll stabilize around a 6 cap, and
Huh.
then on that particular hotel, we'll aim to refinance with HUD. Glad to tell you about the different refinance strategies. Not every hotel is a good candidate to refinance with HUD. This hotel is. And refinancing with HUD will give us, they'll allow you to put your DSCR all the way down to 1.113 or 1.8, something pretty aggressive, and take your LTV all the way up to 83. I don't know that we'll push the property quite that hard, but we expect the value to stabilize in the mid 30 millions. Then we do a cash out refinance, take about 24 months to do the construction, and we'll be fully leased up and refinance around month 30. And then we'll just hold the asset, have all of our equity back.
So, like, just real quick, dirty math in my head. It's like 9 million purchase, 8 point something million dollar renovation, and then
Yeah, call it 9.6 renovation, right?
okay,
So, say 9 to purchase, 9 and change to renovate. Say we're all in at like 20.
okay, and then it's worth 30 2 years later. That's a
Yeah,
slam dunk.
mid 30s.
Wow, wow.
And is 300 the usual, like, would you say an average size of the hotels that you guys do?
No, that's a very large hotel. So just in the hotel world, like 300 units is very normal for a multifamily. But hotels really, you like the hotels that are getting built today, think about Hampton Inn, Marriott Fairfield, right? Wyndham Garden Inn, right? These kind of they call them limited service type, middle of the road hotels. That's what the modern hotel investor wants. Those are all 100 to 120 units. Occasionally you see one that's 150 unit, but that's really where the economies of scale work best for a hotel operator. It's very rare to see a hotel up over 150 unless it's in a downtown core, like it's by a convention center or it's right by an airport. So I would say most of the stuff we're looking at is somewhere like 80 to 120 units because that's what most hotels are. 310 units is a big hotel.
And do most local municipalities cooperate? Are they happy about what you're doing, or do you get a lot of pushback with zoning and things like that?
Well, most are happy. Most are very reasonable and will sit down and they realize that they need more housing. Um, and sometimes it's not really the municipality's attitude. It's like they don't want multifamily in that location, or they are depending on tax revenue because hotels generate a lot of sales tax that they don't want to lose. They want a hotel to be in the downtown area for different types of business purposes. But there are some municipalities that are concerned we are going to convert a hotel and attract people of lower income, right, to more affordable units. And no matter what they say publicly, there's some NIMBYism, right? Not in my backyardism. We don't want people that have lower income and don't pay as much taxes, call the police, call the fire department, overrun the schools, right? There are all these narratives that there's really no evidence behind, but there's some prejudice against affordable housing, which we encounter sometimes. And so that's, before we're buying a property, we're working on rezoning it. So we're working on very long due diligence periods to get these things rezoned.
So your capital stack for something like that, you'd have to raise what, like 6 million, 7 million for something like that? And
for the Denver project?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. That's
6
right.
or
7 to 8 million. Plus you got to have reserves for a project of that size.
Okay. And then when you go in and with Boston here, one of the big pushes here is affordable. You said affordable housing. Is any of this government housing, or is it affordable as in like workforce housing, or is it affordable?
That's right.
Housing?
Lowercase a affordable. Like there are definitely circumstances where you can go capital A affordable.
Okay.
There are benefits, right? Costs and benefits to that. You accept some rent restrictions, but you might get some money up front from the city, and you might get a subsidized loan on the back end. You might get subsidized loan on the acquisition. And so depending on what the city wants and depending on what programs are available, you just sit down and work through what are those trade-offs. Do I want to accept the rent restriction in exchange for some money?
So some of the municipalities here have a requirement of 18 to 20% of the property has to be government, basically affordable housing, right?
Yeah.
Being that it's 18 to 20%, do you think the numbers would still make sense if the affordable housing was put in place like that?
Well, it depends at the income. It depends at the income level, right? Like not all affordable is the same. So sometimes they'll have a requirement you need to restrict to 80% of AMI or 60% of AMI, 50% of AMI, where AMI stands for area median income. Mm-hmm. So, for example, in Denver, our pro forma rents, meaning the rents that we projected that we want to get on the project, those are affordable at the 55% AMI level. So if the city were to come in and say, hey, you need to put 10% of the units to be affordable at the 80% level, we say, yeah, no problem. Like the rent restriction is going to have no impact on us. If just to put numbers to it, let's say we're renting $1,400 units and they said, well, you can't rent 10% of these units for more than $2,000, we're like, no problem, bro. We weren't going to do that anyway.
Boston's probably one of those cities, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to understand, when you have a basis that's like right a third of your competitors, you can offer rents that are significantly lower than your competitors and still make money doing it. So the beauty of the hotel conversion is it's naturally affordable. We're going to put all kinds of affordable properties on the market, units on the market without the need for a formal rent restriction. And the cities love that.
And so do you find, when you're stabilizing one of these, you talked about a 2-year construction period. Are you at the same time operating it as a hotel during that time?
Yeah, depending on the property, the more of these I do, the less interested we are in that. We'd
Okay.
rather just raise money for reserves and just make the construction go faster and then lease faster and not worry about running it as an extended stay. We have done that. We are doing that. It all depends on the how much construction we need to do. Is the hotel in like multiple buildings where we can like separate construction from the hotel experience?
Yep.
How much money can we actually make? Right. That's just what does demand look like for the hotel in the given area? Like there's just a lot of factors to consider on whether or not to do that. But I would say our base case is to not run it as a hotel.
I'm sure that would come with several additional costs as well. You'd have to keep hotel staff on or hire new staff and work around people living there and deal with them, probably complaints 24/7 about construction going on and all that stuff.
I think my concern with that too as well is the hotel, sometimes the hotel is where it is because the staff, kind of let it go where it is. So it's a management, it's really tough to manage something like that, I would think, I mean, I feel like you said, like if it's underperforming hotel,
Yeah.
right?
No, you're exactly right. But
right?
the flip side, and you guys are absolutely right. And I guess the flip side to that is, let's say you have 120 units, you're not going to demo all 120 at once, right? So if they're in 2 buildings or 3 buildings and you've got 40 units over here that's on another side of the parking lot, it's not getting touched, it's full of furniture, well, why not just not offer daily cleaning and just put it up at really cheap rates and take whatever money it produces instead of completely shutting it down.
Instead of leaving it vacant and not making any money at all.
It'd help with the burn rate quite a bit, so.
I actually had a question rewinding a little bit. It's 2 questions. How did you get into doing this? And the second question's a little bit loaded, but how'd you scale?
Yeah. So I got into it because I was doing multifamily, right? And shopping for more multifamily, but multifamily prices were just going straight up. Cap rates were very low. When you look at buying something at a 4 or 5 cap, it's just very risky because you raise the rent a little bit, the property value can go way up, but the reverse is also true. Rents take a little bit of a dip, interest rates go up a little bit. There's a lot of downside there. So I thought that the investment was very fragile and involved a lot of risk. And I started looking for what other strategies and properties were out there. And just going to conferences and meeting people, a broker said to me, "Hey, I know of a hotel near where I was living at the time. Let's go look at it." And he said, "I think this hotel makes sense for conversion to multifamily." And I was like, "Dude, that sounds like a huge pain in the ass. We're going to buy this hotel. We're going to take the furniture out of every room. We're going to put a kitchen in every room. We're going to put sprinklers in every room. We're going to work with the city to literally rezone this thing. And then we're going to lease it all up from zero. And like 2 years from now, it'll be an apartment complex."
That sounds a little daunting.
It sounds daunting. But what do good entrepreneurs do? Like you guys, you don't just look at a house and you're like, "This house is too ugly. I don't want to rehab it. I don't want to flip it." It's like, no. You just look at a house and you see a problem, you put a number on it. What does the roof cost? What does the HVAC cost?
Exactly.
What's the kitchen cost, right? And you're just like, is it worth doing or not? And so I sat down and started putting numbers on these things, even very high numbers. And I recognized that when you buy something for 25 to 35 grand a door, like that offers you insane downside protection, right? And that downside protection is also upside potential. And then I started researching the hotel industry and learned there's a lot of these older hotels that are distressed that can be bought at low prices. And I thought this is a strategy that can be replicated. So I learned more and more about it. We started repeating it more and scaling. There's no magic bullet to that. You have to make mistakes, talk to people, learn things, improve, get smart people on your team, be humble, and get out there and try harder and harder every day. So it's like any business, right? You work really hard to scale it. No secrets there.
Sorry, do you want to say something?
No, you first.
That actually leads me to my favorite question.
I knew this was coming.
I want to know about a horror story, something that the shit hit the fan. You don't have to tell us details like money and specifics, just what happened and how did you guys come back from it, if you did at all?
Dumpster fire.
A dumpster fire, yeah.
I'm trying to think about certainly there's been like delays and problems in construction, but like a true horror story, I don't know, a horror story that's just, there's definitely been like stressful moments, like waiting on approvals from banks and trying to make construction go faster and materials and stuff getting delayed. But I'm trying to think of like a big,
Anything,
like a horror story.
anything funny? Anything funny that's ever happened?
Funny would work too.
Funny would work too. You know.
Yeah, we've definitely had some interesting resident experience. I'll tell you a funny story.
Okay.
One time, we're looking at a hotel for sale, and this property is coming up on Google as a tattoo parlor. And I'm like, how is this a tattoo parlor? It's a hotel. But when I get to the hotel, I realize somebody had set up a tattoo parlor in their room. And they were running the business out of their room, giving tattoos. They had their own Google profile as that address. And they were behind on their rent.
Holy shit.
You know, I feel like
Yes.
I wouldn't trust a tattoo out of a hotel room. I mean, like, you know,
would?
Yeah, I would not. That's probably not the place I'd get a tattoo.
Yeah.
Did he have good reviews?
I don't remember. We were just so disappointed. This guy had a business right in his own room, and he wasn't even paying his rent. So we threw that out.
Yeah, we had a flip that we did in Lynn. When did we do Belmont Street?
It was end of last year.
End of last year. We started the demo there. It was two crackheads, basically. There was Narcan all over the place. But did we lose him? Oh no, we still got him. But I shit you not, we found like 20 dildos hidden throughout the house.
Look at Alex's face.
It cut out right at that part. You found what throughout the house?
We found 20 dildos hidden throughout the house. Like,
Oh
we
my
started
gosh.
the demo and open a cabinet, dildo. Break down a wall, dildo. Took apart the toilet, dildo. Everywhere.
Yeah. I was like working with clients, and my phone kept like buzzing, and I opened up the picture, and there'd be another dildo.
The guys were just sending every single one they would find. They would send it into
Like-
the company chat. Like, look at what we found. Look at what we found.
and I'm like, Leo, why are you sending me pictures of?
There was dildos in the gutter.
Yeah.
Weird, man.
Weird stuff
Yeah.
on the construction sites. Yeah.
We've had some
Yeah, it's
interesting shit happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was probably the most random thing I would think
That
we
was,
found. Yeah. So like when you when do you go from that?
I don't know. Back to what we were talking about.
But yeah, I mean, like I feel like I think like with the zoning, right? Like how long does that take then, you think?
You know, every city is different.
Mm-hmm.
So some hotels are already in a zone where multifamily is allowed.
Okay.
Sometimes the city has a process, right? They'll go through and change the zoning. Sometimes they'll do like a special use permit for you. They've got a special process, and it really depends on the city. But let's just say it could take several months.
Oh, that's not that bad.
In your experience, what was the longest one that you've had to deal with? What city, I guess?
Yeah, I don't want to bash cities on the record, but we did work on one that took like nearly a year.
Okay.
It's probably somewhere around what Boston would be like.
That's like normal in Boston.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
the actual normal amount of time you'd wait for zoning in Boston.
Yeah, like a year is like pretty typical here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've seen ones that take 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, so
Wow.
yeah. So, like, speaking of zoning and code and things like that, what are booby traps that you have to watch out for? Like, you know, like both like in contingencies when you put it together an offer, or like, you know, code such as like, you know, sprinkler systems, fire suppression, you know, fire and safety. You know, like sometimes there's electrical code that kind of like pops up. I mean, what are like booby traps you've seen then?
Yeah, so of course the sprinklers are a big one. Another big one is you've got there's some local codes that are just sneaky and changing that you've got to be aware of. So like local energy codes, typically we're looking at buildings that are older, right? And so exactly what the city is going to require when they switch use over to multifamily, and how much of the energy code are they going to make this old building come into compliance with, that's something that requires a conversation very early on with the city. So once we identified a hotel where we really like the rents, we feel like it's worth it from a CapEx, meaning construction side, like at a high level, then we're immediately engaging the engineer and architect to help us understand what the city might require and how we might negotiate it away.
Yeah, the specialized stretch energy code here in Massachusetts is pretty intense as well.
Yeah, like new construction, you have to have 400 amps. You have to have, it has to be solar ready in certain towns. It has to also have solar ready. It has a
R30 on the exterior walls, I think.
Yeah, it's like probably the highest energy code in the U.S. I think, from my understanding. So I've attended a couple of these builder conferences, and it's funny because they're like, one of the head guys is like, well, if everyone goes to the energy code that they want, then we actually don't have enough power to operate in. There's not that much power even available in Massachusetts. But I'm like, oh, that's funny. They kind of want us to get to that point. We don't have enough electric to go around for that. So, but
Wow.
But like when you put an offer in, like what are your typical contingencies? And it sounds like you make the subject to be able to obtain permits or a variance or whatnot. What else? What else do you put in there?
Yeah, not permits, but zoning. The they call it the entitlement. Yes, we make sure that it is contingent on the entitlement. If it's a hotel that's got a franchise on it, a flag like a Hilton, Marriott, Wyndham, right type brand, then it is contingent on terminating the agreement with the hotel company. It's contingent on removing all of the hotel staff and shutting down the hotel. So those are some big contingencies.
If you have to remove the flag, is there a penalty for that to remove the flag then?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
if the franchise contract is not at end of life, then there is a pretty steep penalty. But we say like, listen, here's our price. That includes you guys negotiating the termination of whatever agreement you have. That's on you guys to negotiate the termination.
Oh, that's smart. So that you don't take on that liability to deal with that problem.
No, we never touch that.
And typical like due diligence and typical like contract period. I know like it can. I feel like you need a longer runway too as well. Then right then. So what period of time are you under contract for before you close?
Depending on the deal, 90 on the short end, which is rare, all the way it's like 180 days due diligence period.
6 months. Okay. Yeah, I figured it's going to take a lot of time to get all those numbers in and get everything get the zoning taken care of then.
You got it.
So, I mean, what's next? Like, is this something that do you feel like you're going to expand outside of hotels, or you think
we are doing some traditional hotel investments just because hotels produce such excellent cash flow that we're doing some investing in hotels that will stay as hotels. But what's next is we're looking for more hotels to convert to multifamily.
Do you have any advice for anybody that's looking to get into hotel conversions?
Yeah, they can certainly reach out. They can come hang out with us. But they need to, it's no different than really someone that's trying to get into multifamily. You need to go to the conferences and learn about the industry, right? Get to know the brokers, get to know your local market, and start understanding what are the pain points, what are the areas of distress that a hotel operator is facing.
So are you refining and holding these, or are you selling them?
Yep, refi and hold.
Oh, okay. I mean, honestly, that's the path to long-term wealth, I think. And so you're not selling these once you're done; you're holding on to them then, right?
At least for a few years, right? I mean, some of them where we have investors can't hold on for forever, but like 5-7 years down the road, we'll look to sell when it's opportune.
So say there's an LP in it. Do they, with a refi, or do they get back most of their money? Then is that the way you structure it?
We try and shoot for they get back all their money.
Oh, that's nice. Oh. And so you get all your money back, and in perpetuity you have a return on top of it, which is like an infinite return, really. Then
you got it. You got it.
Well, that's very exciting, actually.
Super exciting.
Yeah, that's super exciting. That's kind of what we do too.
Yeah.
But
on a much larger scale.
Well, yeah, that's a lot larger. Yeah. Wow. So if you were to tell the viewers right now, like, hey, go out and do this right now. Like, what's the first step we should do if we wanted to get into hotel conversions? Then, what's the very first thing we should do? Then
you should go look at a hotel.
Okay.
Go look at a hotel. Go walk around a hotel, and you're going to realize like what you don't know, and then you go and learn those things. So different people have different strengths, right? Like some people are really good at financial modeling. Some people are really good at construction. But you go look at a hotel, you start planning out that project, and you figure out what your weaknesses are so that you can either go find the partner that has them or start learning them.
Okay. And do you think it's a bad idea for us to try to go after a small one and look at it then? Or do you think we should go big right away?
Right? Like, that's like you asking me, is it a bad idea for me to buy an ugly house to flip? It's like, dude, I don't know. You got to let's look at the numbers. It's all about the numbers.
It's true.
You know what? I actually had a curiosity from our conversation before when you were talking about amenities. What do you do with pools?
Our base case is we fill them in. But if the rents are high and we are trying to target a tenant that is looking at comparable apartments where they have pools, then we want to be competitive. And so we analyze the costs of keeping the pool. But it's just like any other amenity, right? Like we just look at the costs and benefits. What does it cost to run the pool? What do we think it's going to do to our rents and the competitive nature of our apartments by keeping the pool? Is that going to make our apartments that much more desirable? We make a judgment call. So on most properties, we're filling in the pool. Right now, on that Denver property I mentioned to you, we are considering keeping the pool there, actually.
Would it make any difference if it was inside the hotel or outside?
Wouldn't make any difference, right? Like,
No.
does it's all about the rents, right? Like, what are the rents? What do the comps have? You know? It's like, hey, it's like me asking you guys when you're flipping a house, does it make any difference if the garage is attached or it's detached? It's like, well, what else is in the neighborhood? Like, what else is in the price point? You know, it's like, does this have an eat-in kitchen? Does it not have an eat-in kitchen? Does it have a finished basement? Does it not have finished? It's like, well, it depends on the comps, right? It depends on the price point. So this is all, it's all market dependent, you know? Just like when you're doing research to flip a house, we're doing research on what are the other apartments in the area offering, how much are they charging, and so what level of finish is justified in our rehab to be competitive with the other product on the market.
Which is funny because we just did a call about that yesterday, and every single decision came down to the comps. We were literally looking at all the houses around that house to decide what exactly was going to happen to that house. Yeah.
Yeah. So the I guess with the numbers, right? Do you have any advice about any sort of online resources, websites, apps, tools, software that you suggest using?
You know, it's such a new industry and a new strategy. There's not a
I was thinking
it's not
that.
like a calculator I can point you to, right? We've had to build all of our stuff internally for how to do this, just based on our own understanding. But it's great if you subscribe to something called the STAR Report. STR Report stands for Smith Travel. It's a CoStar product.
Yep.
And they're the ones who put out all the occupancy and income data on different hotels in the area. And I would learn how to read those. You can sometimes get them from the hotel brokers, but that's a good place to start. That's a great resource on hotel data.
Okay. And I guess if anyone wanted to get in touch with you or wanted to work with you or invest in some of the things, I mean, I don't know. Are you looking for investors?
Hit us up on absolutely. We always want to talk with people. We don't, we're not like actively raising for any project right now, but we've got offers out on several things. And Alex Cartwright is my name. You find me on LinkedIn, our website, hotelshift, SHIFT.capital. People can sign up for our mailing list, and when we've got something new coming out, we ship it out.
Awesome. So you have any questions for us at all, Alex, then?
I don't. I mean, I got questions we can talk about offline, but I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. Fun conversation.
Absolutely. And so
when you find a hotel in the Massachusetts area, let's have another episode where you put that hotel up on the screen and I'll analyze it with you.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd be down for that. Yeah.
And I can run it through some of my tools. I'll tell you what I like and don't like, what I would offer, and why.
We'll definitely take you up on that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we have capital, and we were talking about what we're going to do with this capital.
Yeah.
So I think this is perfect, actually. I guess this is the part where I say to the viewers, follow us on Instagram. What do they say? Follow us on Instagram, YouTube. To find out more, go to Equity. Yeah. Smash that like button.
Maybe say where to follow.
And and join us on the conversation at equityorbust.com too as well. Then Thank you, everybody. I hope this was educational, and reach out to Alex if you're interested in finding out more. Then, all right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Alex. Pleasure meeting you, man.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you. Likewise.